T, what up? Mr. Brown,
What's up, brother?
what's good with you?
Maintaining, man.
How you?
Maintaining.
You got grades too?
Yeah, man.
You getting old, man.
Team Dynasty was a long time ago, brother.
Yeah, you can't get old, yo. How you been?
What's that?
What's good with you? How you been?
Listen, with all that's going on in the world, man, I'm maintaining, doing well, can't complain.
How's your family, your son, moms, everybody?
Family's good. Family's good. We had a few scares, but everyone's healthy. My son is great. My son is going to college in the fall, which makes me feel even older, man.
Yeah, you earned those grades.
I earned those grades, yeah.
God bless.
And working with the kids, you know.
Huh?
And working with the kids at school and in the gym, I've definitely,
You can get them quick that way. Trust me.
yeah, a lot of headaches, man, but well worth it.
What's good though? Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. What age would you say you picked up the basketball?
Before we get started, I want to thank you for, wanting to interview me and, allowing me a platform, to tell my story and share my story.
Absolutely.
So,
and
I
appreciate you going along with it. I feel it's old to kids men, because the thing is, I was there when you weren't good.
Yeah, I remember. And you used to tell me. And you used to tell me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You overrated. You overrated.
Absolutely. Like, I wouldn't be me if I didn't keep it 100 with you.
Right.
So this is something that I was looking forward to. As all of them, but this one's a little more personal because you and me, I saw you from the bottom up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
From IS 218 in Elwood. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
man.
What would you say? At what age did you pick up the basketball? And who put the basketball in your hand?
Before I picked up a basketball, I think like most kids, at home, throwing away trash into the trash can, you know, rolling up a sock, taking a metal hanger, and putting it above the door frame and shooting it there, counting down. But the person that put the basketball in my hand and at the age was definitely my cousin Leonard.
Okay.
He lived on Arden.
Okay.
He lived on Arden. And I would say at the age at about maybe like 9, 10 years old, because he had a passion for basketball and he was my older cousin. And I just wanted to just be around him. And, and he was into sports, and he actually put, he was the person that instilled that love for sports in me. Like I used to play baseball with him, stickball, football, and then basketball was a sport that we just stuck to. And I guess more so because, we had more access to it. There's basketball courts in every schoolyard in New York City.
Yeah.
So we used to also play video games, before all of this 2K, we used to play, NBA Live and what was the one when you were about to go dunk the basketball and it was stop and show it in black and white? Double dribble, yeah. So we used to play all of these, video games, and we were huge Knicks fans. So, and that was in the early 90s, and that's when the Knicks, were at their best, other than when they were in the Knicks of the 70s, So it was definitely my cousin Leonard.
Okay.
And then on the street, playing with my friends, hanging milk crates on fire escapes, on gates.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, these young kids know nothing about that now.
At all.
the fact that they're taking down hoops in New York City, we would have figured something out.
Bro, we used to play on fire escapes with no hoops.
Exactly. I remember that.
Second hole.
Yep, just trying to throw through the hole. Yeah.
Yeah, on the monkey bars. You know what I mean? Like
exactly on the monkey bars. Yep.
Yeah, it was different. Different. So you starting to play ball at 9, 10. When did you get into the organized basketball?
First organized league that I played in was the YBL at IS 218. That was my first organized tournament. Well, there and also for the IS 218, which is the middle school that I went to, for those that are watching and don't know. Gotcha. Playing on that middle school team.
So you're what, 12, 13?
So I was in the 6th grade. So I was about, 12 years. I was about 11, 12 years old.
And how'd it go?
It went well. And actually, I was thinking about this earlier today, playing, at IS 218, and Leo Larenquint was the coach.
Yeah.
And Alex was the assistant coach. I forget his last name. But, they prepared me, they equipped me with the tools that I needed, to play basketball. Like, I remember we used to practice before school started. So we used to have like 6:30 a.m. practices, and he would make us run around the gym to start practice, to warm up. And then we would do hundreds. We'd have to make so many left-handed layups before we started, practice, and I used to hate it, but now in hindsight, in hindsight, that allowed me to be able to play, at a higher level. So junior high school, playing with my classmates and neighborhood friends was a lot of fun, and we took a lot of pride in that because we used to play against 52, and a lot of the other local schools, in the Inwood and Washington Heights area, or in District 6.
In District 6, exactly. Yeah. What position were you playing when you first started?
That's a great question. Because I was tall for my age, they had me under the basket. And I remember Sev, who was one of my coaches.
Yeah.
I remember him yelling at me during some YBL games, like telling me to stand under the basket, and I'm like, why do I have to stand under the basket? I can handle the ball and I can shoot the basketball. Yep. So I remember vividly, shooting jump shots and, him yelling at me like, no, and the ball going in and running back the other way. And I'm like, I can shoot, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So playing junior high school basketball, playing in the YBL was a lot of fun, because in the concrete jungle, everybody wants to be the man. Everybody wants to be number one, or everybody thinks that they're the man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that lit a fire under me, because I wanted to be just as good as everybody else. There was one person I remember vividly from junior high school that I used to look up to and I used to admire, and that was Marvin Cabasa.
Yep.
Marvin, was several inches shorter than me, but he used to get up so high.
Very athletic.
He could shoot, he'd get to the basket. He was super athletic. Mm-hmm. And I had the pleasure of playing with him, one season in the YBL, and we actually won a championship there. But it was a lot of fun, man. Guys shit talking, this block against that block, and who's better, who's this, who's that, and I remember you vividly telling me when I was in junior high school, you're like, yo, you're overrated.
Because the whole thing is this. My thing is this with you guys, right? Even the guys I coached. Mm-hmm. If I tell you what everybody else is telling you,
right,
I'm not helping you.
Right. Absolutely right.
So I'd rather be that one asshole to tell you what nobody else is telling you, even if it's accurate, even if you are well-deserved of the accolades you're receiving. If I can tell you something that's going to make you go in the gym and take 50 more jump shots to shut this nigga up,
right,
I'm good with that.
Right. And listen, And in hindsight now, I feel like I needed that so much more in my life.
Yeah.
Too much, and people don't want to hurt kids' feelings, you know, and everybody thinks that their kid is the greatest thing, you know, until they play on a team or they show up somewhere and someone humbles them. You know, I think more kids need that. You know,
yeah, I agree. I just learned how to soften the way I say it.
right.
With the kids that I was talking to at your age at that time, I was a kid myself. I wasn't in my 30s, in my in my late teens. So I'm like, yo, what's what is him? No, wait a minute. We got a lot of fire up under him. I want to see what he do with some pressure.
Right.
And you know what? I wouldn't change it, because kids like you got so good that people might have wanted to tell you, yo, why don't you work on this a little more? But nah. Yo, you the man. Keep doing what you're doing. Yep. That's what it is. Now, I've never been one of those people.
Right.
You understand? Because look at well, we're gonna get into it, but that first team dynasty that I had, did I really have to coach anybody? You know what I'm saying? That was all Hollows and Rice, but the most unlikely of people came out 30 a clip.
But hold on. But before we get to that, you know, I want to highlight one of your points. And actually, I'm not going to highlight. I want to scratch it out, because I disagree. I think like even talented teams need good coaches. You know,
no.
you need good coaches to manage
But
talent.
what I'm saying is, when I say coach, I mean like micromanaging. You know what I mean? Like it's a big difference with these kids that have put in that work and have a certain discipline, to kids that just think they know how to play basketball because they can put the ball in the hoop.
Right.
Because to get all of you guys to work together, I had to coach.
Right.
Because everybody was the man on that team.
Right.
So I don't mean it in that aspect. I mean it like when I coach young kids, that you got to really be on them. Like, no, this is what you do here. You call in a timeout. Like, what it is. You know what I mean?
Kids that don't know how to play the game yet on their own.
Exactly.
Right.
But so you're in 218, you're doing well for yourself. When it comes to high schools, why Rice?
Why Rice? That happened by accident, man. So I was supposed to go to George Washington High School.
Okay.
And I remember everyone from my neighborhood that went to George Washington, they're like, listen, why aren't you in school? They're calling you your name, you know, in homeroom every morning. Why aren't you in class? And I'm like, yo, my mom put me in the Catholic school, you know. She forced me to go to Rice. You know, I remember going to take the entrance exam, and I was so rigid and I was so against wanting to go to a Catholic school. I'm like, I'm a public school kid. Yeah. I don't know much about religion, you know, except for that white picture of, you know, that photo of Jesus where he's white and all that. I'm like, I don't know much about religion. You know, she takes me to go take this entrance exam, you know, and that was all she wrote, you know. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind when I went to go take the entrance exam, which I posted about it not too long ago, you know, was walking in the lobby and seeing the trophy case in the lobby and seeing pictures of Felipe Lopez and Anthony Glover, that when I was at that age in the 8th grade, the summer of you know, before going to high school, I didn't know who these people were. You know, seeing news clips of, you know, Andre Barrett and Kenny Satterfield. I didn't know who any of those guys were. I didn't know anything about Rice High School. Okay. You know, so me going to Rice was just by chance, you know, because my mother didn't want me to go to George Washington High School, you know, because she didn't want me to get in trouble.
Got you.
You know.
Okay.
So I have to thank my mother for that, and that's one of the best things that my mother did for me or could do for me.
Absolutely. That's a big deal, man. People don't realize it, but that's a real big deal.
The sacrifice that she made so I could go to that school.
Exactly.
Which,
yeah.
And to be honest, Drew, that changed my life.
Of course it did.
It changed my life.
Of course it did. Of course it did. It
Yeah.
started there.
Yeah.
Basically, you know what I mean? Because that was, you were starting a whole new life. You
Right.
weren't just that regular kid that can play basketball. Now
Right.
you're about to play basketball.
Listen, on a scale that I never knew. And what's funny about that, I want to backtrack real quick. So
Yeah.
from playing in the YBL, which was Children's Aid Society,
Yeah.
run league,
Yep.
they had these like all-star teams from each site. So I remember playing in this league called 875.
875. Yep.
Which was, Children's Aid Society, branches would play against each other. And I remember I played for IS 218, and I would say I was the headliner of the team.
Okay.
And again, like you live in this bubble, right? And in Washington Heights and Dyckman, in your street, in your neighborhood, you're the man.
Mm-hmm.
But once you step outside of your bubble and you start playing against, kids from Millbank, from Harlem, kids from IS 90, from the 160s, and the 170s and the 150s and all that, and you're playing against all these different sites, it opens up your, it removes those blinders and you're seeing a whole new world. And it's like, whoa, I thought I was the man. I thought I was good.
Absolutely.
So then I ran into kids like, Jason Wingate,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Santiago, Luis Flores, Luis Rodriguez, just to name a few. I believe Mousy was playing at that time, like seeing all these other guys. And I'm like, whoa, I thought I was the man, and that brought me down a notch and it humbled me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I also remember going to Rice, not even knowing how to tie
a tie.
So I just showed up with the tie around my neck, right?
Yeah.
I just showed up with a tie around my neck, and the dean of students, Mr. Abbasi, I remember, showed me how to tie the tie, which I greatly appreciate, and as an adult now, thinking about not knowing how to tie a tie at that young age and not having a male role model, male figure in my life to teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. But I remember going to orientation and seeing all these kids that I had seen from 875 in the cafeteria. So I'm thinking I'm going to go to Rice. I'm going to try out for the basketball team, and I'm going to be pretty good, but then I see Jason Wingate. I see Keedron Clark. I see Steve Burt. I see Luis Rodriguez. I see all these kids, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, I gotta now compete against all of these kids.
Yeah.
For a spot.
Yeah.
So that opened my purview tremendously.
Yeah, for sure. That freshman class was tough.
Listen, I would say my Rice class was the #1 Rice class of all time. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay. Talk your talk.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of talking we got to do.
Of course.
Before
Let me
get to Rice. So after 875, the first summer tournament I played in, like during that junior high school time of IS 218 and YBL and 875 was Dyckman. I don't think a lot of people know, that I was one of Dyckman's. I'm a product of Dyckman. You know what I mean? And I was one of the pioneers that made that tournament what it is now. You know what I mean? And we were on a live not too long ago, and Rob, was critiquing your bracket.
Yeah.
And he was saying that there weren't enough people from Dyckman on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt a little disrespected by that, because even though I lived in Washington Heights, I also represent Dyckman.
Facts.
My grandmother lived on Arden. My uncle lived on Arden. I went to IS 218, which is in Inwood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I grew up playing at Dykeman for as long as he did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the tournaments that Kenny would take Dykeman kids to, and we would go to Peekskill and play. We would go to Atlantic City and play. I was a part of all of those teams.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I am Dykeman as well. You know. So yeah. So Dykeman was Dykeman was the first summer tournament that I played in. You know, and it was back when, you know, it was a local tournament for the kids that lived in Dykeman, and the parents were the coaches, and they used to have a draft.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember this guy named Negro. I don't know if you know Nicky, but that was his dad, and he was my first coach at Dykeman. You know, playing when it was just a small local tournament.
Yeah. Were you playing AAU at this time?
Nope. I didn't play AAU until I got to high school.
High school. That's what I figured.
So compared to all the kids, compared to all of my counterparts,
yeah,
I was a latecomer.
Yeah.
I was late. Yeah. I showed up way late on the block.
Got you. Yeah. So your ninth grade, your excuse me, your freshman year at Rice.
Mm-hmm.
You play freshman, right?
I played on the freshman team. Yep.
Okay. And what was that team like, and how'd you do at the position they got you playing?
Listen, our freshman class, aside from the people that I named that are like big-time Rice players, like Kedron, Jason, Steve, Lou Rodriguez. There was other guys that people have never heard of that can play. Like,
bro, I'm trying to tell you, I got slack for putting Lou Rodriguez on my bracket, and I'm like, do y'all know
Lou Rodriguez was tough?
Like, do y'all know who Lou Rodriguez is?
Listen, when I was a freshman, he was 10 times better than I was.
Got you.
He was 10 times better than I was. But there are other guys, like there's a kid from Brooklyn named Kenny Usey that was on that team who was being highly recruited by colleges, you know, as a freshman. He used to, and again, we were kids, and he used to show me all of these college letters he was getting, you know, from all these schools in the Big East. And I was like, colleges send kids letters? Like, I wasn't aware of any of that stuff.
Gotcha.
You know, there was a kid named Shaquem Mitchell that was from Brooklyn. There was a kid named Bobby Potts, Michael Manning, Wilson Marin. Like, there were so many other kids at Rice that didn't get the chance to play that were better than me.
Got you.
You know what I mean? So our freshman team, dude, was loaded. Our freshman team, like 1 through 12, we were loaded.
Yeah.
1 through 12 loaded. Because, again, everybody from the basketball world in New York City, didn't matter what borough you were from, they wanted to play at Rice.
Yeah.
We had kids from Queens, from Brooklyn, from Staten Island, from the Bronx, from Manhattan, you know? Everybody wanted to go to that shoebox in Harlem.
That's a fact, to that tiny gym.
That tiny gym that we never played a varsity game in that gym.
Yeah, no way. That was only for freshman basketball, wasn't it?
Freshman and JV, yeah.
Okay.
Freshman, JV, and some varsity B games.
Varsity B? Okay. Yeah, they had, that's right. Rice got the varsity B. How'd you do your freshman year?
My freshman year, I got some play. But we wound up going undefeated, won the city championship, you know, at the freshman level. But I didn't play major minutes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You feel? How do you take that? Coming from, like you said, being the highlighted player, being the man, going to a school where everybody at their respective position is the man. Right.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of studs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What did that do to you as a basketball player?
Well, I learned how to play the game the right way at Rice. You know what I mean? I learned how to take a charge. You know, I learned how to play man-to-man defense. You know, the freshman coach, Wally Gober, you know, catered, because he was a really good coach as well. He catered his teaching to the way Mo Hicks taught. So by the time those kids got to the varsity level, you know, they knew how to play basketball the right way and the Rice Raider way.
Gotcha.
You know, but to be honest, I was happy to have made the top 12.
Yeah.
And I was happy. I was just a happy kid to just be there. You know what I mean? To get Nike sneakers as a freshman. You know what I mean? To wear, once I learned what Rice High School was about, you know, to have a practice jersey that I could wear at an open gym in Washington Heights somewhere, or that I could wear, you know, to Dykeman during the summer. You know what I mean? So I was just happy to be a part of the program and a part of the team.
That's what's up, man. So your summer after your freshman year, was that like basketball wise? That when you started AAU?
That's when I started AAU. And the only reason I started playing AAU was because my high school teammates were like, yo, what AAU team you play on? I'm like, I don't play AAU. And they were like, what? So the first person that took me under his wing, you know, and looked out for me was Keidron Clark. He said, you need an AAU team to play with? I'm going to take you to the Abyssinian Church in Harlem. And on that team, it was myself, Keidron, Curtis Stinson, Luis Rodriguez, and Alan Ray.
Yo.
Drew, that team right there.
That's tough.
That was, And we used to hand out a lot of ass whoopings, man. And Turtle, rest his soul, you know, and Lex were our coaches. And, you know, their philosophy on basketball was a philosophy I had never heard of. I had never been around. Their practices were super intense. Gotcha. You know, like Turtle was the coach that instilled in me, you know, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. You know, like once you're on the court with whoever it is, they could be the top player in New York City. He used to tell us, today, they're not number one.
Absolutely.
You're gonna shut them down. You know, so, you know, Turtle, his practices were next level. He used to put brooms in front of the rim when we used to work out. So we used to have to shoot over the broom and get an arc on the ball.
Yes, sir.
You know? So his tactics were guerrilla. He had guerrilla tactics.
Yeah, that's the right.
Because he was from the street. He was scrappy. You know, and that's how we played. So that was the first AAU team I played on, but that was more of a local AAU team. Okay. You know, where we used to play in local tournaments. Then my classmate and teammate Kenny Usey from Brooklyn took me to the Gauchos. Okay. So the Gauchos was the first AAU team that I played with that we used to travel outside of New York. Yes. And on that team was super loaded. There was a kid named Donnie McGrath that was on that team that wound up playing at Providence. I played with Roscoe Biggers on that team, Levi Levine. You know, and again, me at that time, I knew nothing about the Gauchos. And then again, I see Felipe Lopez, and I learned more about Felipe Lopez there. You know, Stephon Marbury and all the Gaucho grits.
Yeah. What position are you playing at this time?
On the wing.
Okay.
I was playing on the wing.
How big are you?
At that age, freshman, sophomore, I was 6'1", 6 feet.
Okay. And the AAU circuit, how you do that team? Once you join the Gauchos, how'd that work out for you? What'd that do for your game as a ball player?
It brought my game to the next level because at that point, you know, I was playing a lot more, I was practicing a lot more, and I was playing against much better competition because, you know, the old saying goes, iron sharpens iron. Thanks. You know what I mean? And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, when I first got to Rice, I didn't know anything about rankings, you know, and I see that, you know, there's a top 100 in New York City. Yeah. And I was like, and I see all of the kids at Rice were ranked somewhere in the top 100, and I was ranked nowhere because everyone that went to Rice, you know, I don't mean to blow the whistle, but everybody knows this, you know, private schools, public schools, schools recruit, you know, so I wasn't recruited to go to Rice. You know, as I mentioned before, I just showed up because my mom didn't want me to go to the public school in my neighborhood. So I find out about the rankings, and I see everybody at my school, everyone on the freshman team was ranked somewhere.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I want to be ranked in the city. So that motivated me to want to show on the AAU circuit and, you know, and playing in local tournaments that I was just as good as the people that were ranked ahead of me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And playing on Abyssinian Turtle, he was like, you want to get ranked? He's like, well, you're going to have to work your butt off. But he's like, if you keep working, I don't have a doubt that you'll be able to make that list. And by the end of my freshman year, I was ranked top 100 in New York City.
Say that. That's what's up.
Yeah.
So you're going into your sophomore year. Is it JV?
I played JV. Yep. A few kids from the freshman team got moved up to varsity. Keedron Clark got moved up to varsity. Jason Wingate got moved up to varsity. And Luis Rodriguez got moved up to varsity.
Okay.
So Stephen and Kenny Yusi moved up to the varsity team.
Gotcha.
So Steve Bird and I, we had to play JV, you know, and I'll be honest, I was salty. You know, I thought that I had the work ethic and I was just as good as everybody else that moved up to play varsity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I would say that I was discouraged and I was pissed off, but that just motivated me more.
Oh, thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
And
that was around.
Make them.
What's that?
I said at that point, it can make a kid or break a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because not everybody's open to other people seeing something different that they don't see.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that was the time when Jordan had come out with all these tapes. You know, all these kids are watching The Last Dance. And I'm like, I've been watching Michael Jordan tapes since I can remember. I remember he used to have Come Fly With Me and all these videos. And I remember, you know, before I would go play or go practice, I would sit down, pop the tape in the VHS, you know, and watch Come Fly With Me. And, you know, on Come Fly With Me, that's when I learned that, you know, Jordan got cut from his junior varsity team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, well, that's not my situation. And my counterparts just got moved up, you know, from the freshman team, playing 1 year freshman, then moved up to varsity. I was happy for them, but that just instilled a fire in me that I just got to work harder and I got to get my shit together.
Yeah. You got to get it right.
So when I played JV, I was coached by this guy named John Shea, which it's crazy how small the world is. You know, a few years ago, you know, I used to train his son, you know, which is a huge, you know, 6 degrees of separation, you know, small world. But I wound up playing on the junior varsity team, you know, and really the two highliners of the team were Steven and I. Okay. You know what I mean? So we just got busy. You know, I remember vividly when I knew that I was on the right track was when one day Mo Hicks pulled me to the side in the hallway and was like, keep doing what you're doing. You know, and when he, you know, said those few words to me was that he was paying attention and that he was watching. You know, and that was after a game against Xavier. Xavier. I scored about 50-something points in a game.
Nice.
You know, and he was like, keep doing what you're doing.
That's what's up.
You know, so that motivated me to want to get in the gym and hit the weights and get bigger and stronger, you know, and just continue to work on my game.
So at the end of your sophomore year, you back to the AAU circuit?
Back to the AAU circuit. So that summer, I played with 2 AAU teams. That was between the Gauchos and the Washington Heights Warriors, who are now New Heights.
Okay.
You know, so I was one of the original players on, you know, the New Heights, or for the New Heights program, which was the Washington Heights Warriors, because they were based out of IS 90.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah. Or we were the CSA Warriors. The CSA Warriors, Washington Heights Warriors. Because they were funded by the Children's Aid Society.
Okay. CS, got you.
Yeah.
So I wanna know, you not going varsity, right? Staying on JV with a chip on your shoulder, going into the summer. Now you playing AAU.
Right.
Do you bring that with you?
Absolutely.
And how did it work out for you?
Because now I know next year, you know, there's people that are in my class that have a year of varsity experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, I got to show New York City that I can play at an elite varsity AA level. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I think I took a lot of that frustration out, Drew, when I would play at Dykeman.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, Dykeman is my park. I grew up playing there, you know, and now Dykeman is starting to blow up. And, you know, they got teams from Brooklyn, teams from Harlem, teams from, you know, Mount Vernon, teams from all over are coming now. And I'm like, yo, this is my time, you know, to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, absolutely. Yeah, so on the AAU circuit, you know, I just played with a different chip on my shoulder. You know, I used to hate the Riverside Church, you know, because listen, they were always fully loaded, you know, and I used to enjoy playing against, you know, my high school teammates, you know, Jason and Kedron, you know, but they would get these calls, man, and the game would just change. And I'm like, yo, you can't touch anybody. You can't breathe on them.
Yeah, yeah.
I still think that Ernie Leutch had the referees in his pocket, man. Besides him touching booty, you know.
Listen, they
besides
mentioned
him touching booty,
he had to let it go. You know what I mean? I'm behaving. Yo, so listen. Now we're going into the junior year.
Right.
Now you know it's varsity.
Right. Because at that time, when I was a sophomore, so when I was a freshman, Kenny sat.
They asked the question, what were you ranked as a sophomore?
To be honest, I don't recall. I wish I did.
Okay.
But I knew that I'd moved up in the rankings.
Got you.
You know, but how far, I don't recall. I know that at some point I was top 50 in New York.
Okay.
For sure. And I'll just leave it there.
Got you.
So yeah, so when I was a freshman, you know, Kenny Satterfield was there.
Yeah.
McDowell All-American, he was a killer.
Yeah.
You know, which instilled a lot of pride in me. I'm like, damn, yo, you know, when I play at the varsity level, I want to, you know, continue on this tradition.
Yeah.
You know, Andre Barrett was there. You know, he was a year behind Kenny. He was also McDonald's All-American. You know, Kyle Cuff was there, you know, who played at St. John's. You know, Andre Sweets was there, who played at Duke and then transferred to Seton Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I cannot forget Michael Abukwelu, who is from Washington Heights. You know, and played at Rice. I believe he's from the 170s, you know, and super strong, and he used to do all of the dirty work, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
you know, it's just seeing those guys at that level, you know, and with all the success that they had, you know, I was excited to be able to join in that legacy, you know, and that tradition, you know, and just, you know, continue the legacy of Rice, you know, because Kenny Satterfield won his senior year, Andre Barrett and them lost.
Yep.
St. Raymond's to Julius Hodge when he was a junior.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Julius Hodge, Chris McCray, Peter Mulligan, and all those guys.
Yeah. St. Ray's was tough.
Yeah, St. Ray's was tough. But my junior year, you know, playing varsity for the first time, I'm gonna admit I was a little nervous. I didn't know what to expect. The game changed. The game, everyone was bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then being a first-year varsity player with guys that had already played varsity a year, you know, often I would just defer to them, you know, because even though we were in the same class, they were the veterans on the team, and they were the highlighted players.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
But the thing is, you see, my thing is this. It's like you said, people get recruited to go to schools. DJ5, I watched an interview he did, and he said he wound up at Rice by default, right? But J5 was a different type of point guard in high school, man. Like,
he was.
Like,
he was. Listen, I saw J5 battle against the best of the best. I've seen him, like, we used to play in West 4th, and we won a championship in West 4th. Yeah. I saw he went at Gary Irvin.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
He went at Gary Irvin. You know, we played against, my senior year, we played against Sebastian Telfair twice. Our first game of the season and in the state championships. You know, and Sebastian was Sebastian Telfair, but he was dirty as hell. He tried to punk Jason, you know, and Jason, he didn't back down. You know what I mean? Like, I remember Sebastian, listen, because you know them Brooklyn cats are different, man.
Yeah.
The Brooklyn dudes are different. And I remember vividly, you know, Sebastian busting Jason's lip. And I told Jason, I said, Jay, the next time he comes through the paint, I'm going to lay his ass out.
Yeah.
At Fordham, with all of Brooklyn on one side and all of Harlem on the other side.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, Jay, he's not going to come in here all the way from Brooklyn and come in here and try to punk us. But, dude, Jason was different, man. His handle, his jump shot, his confidence, he was always calm. He was always poised. You know, he was a great floor general.
And then, my thing is, you're on this varsity team with a bunch of dudes that are like that at their position that were recruited to go to Rice.
Right.
And here you come on that team.
Right.
A kid that wasn't recruited to go to that school.
Nope.
You understand? Because from your freshman year to your junior year and your senior year, a lot of dudes you started off with weren't there.
No. Luis Rodriguez, I think he either failed out or got kicked out of the school. You know what I mean? And that was a person who, we were the same height. Yeah. We played pretty much the same position. Our games were kind of similar. You know, I just think that I was a better shooter than he was.
Yeah.
Jay, you don't got to appreciate nothing, man. I'm just talking facts. What was I? I just think that I was a better shooter than Lewis. But him and I were competing for position. You know, for playing time, for the same spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he was removed from the equation, you know, I felt a sense of relief. Yeah. But then once he left, Mo Hicks brought in another kid from Long Island. His name was Andre something. And this kid could fly out of the gym.
Okay.
And I'm like, damn, this kid's going to take my spot.
Junior year?
My junior year playing varsity. Listen, our junior year, Jason will tell you, we cried a lot because we lost a lot because we had no senior leadership. Because by the time we were Andre Abanipul, that's exactly what's his name. Yo, this dude used to jump out the gym, yo. Our junior year, you know, Kenny Satterfield was 2 years gone, you know, and his class. Andre Barrett, Kyle Cuff, and Andre Sweets and his class were gone. Yeah. You know, so the seniors we had weren't at that high level. There wasn't one Division I or Division II player in that senior class. So us juniors, we got baptism by fire that year. We were playing against Julius Hodge and St. Raymond fully loaded. We were playing against Miami Christian out in in California, because we would travel to all these places. And dude, and we would get destroyed. You know, we always fought. You know, we always fought, and we were competitive. But our junior year, our team had no senior leadership. You know, and that's super important. You know what I mean? But not leadership in that sense. We just had no leaders that played at that high level that could carry our team. You know what I mean? So we really, my class, we really came into our own our junior year. You know, I remember us losing to St. Francis Prep at Manhattan College, you know, and we just, dude, we cried, we wept in the locker room, you know, and we all made a promise to ourselves. We're like, yo, we're not going to feel this next year.
Gotcha.
Because we were getting beaten up by all of the seniors on all of the other teams. You know, but we held our own. We beat St. Ray's at St. Ray's my junior year, and beat a lot of the top teams in the city. Christ the King, you know, was one of our big rivals. So our junior year was trial by fire. We learned, you know, and our senior year, dude, we just dominated the city. We dominated the tri-state. We dominated in the country.
Question. There was a year that y'all were all at Rice that they had brought Shagari out to Dykeman. Y'all was your junior year.
What's that?
That was your junior year?
That was the summer. That was the summer going into our senior year.
Yeah, so that was after your junior year, right?
Right. Dude, I don't know if my teammates know this, but I begged Mo. I said, Mo, you got to put us in Dykeman. You got to put us in Dykeman. You got to put us in the college pro division. You know what I mean? Because we grew a lot playing out there too, because we were playing against college and pro. Essentially, we were playing against grown-ass men, you know? And we were out there in Dykeman running plays.
I remember
you running plays and competing with a lot of these teams.
Yeah, I remember you forgot to take the uniforms out the bag after a game, and y'all suited up for a game, and y'all stunk up the park, fam, literally. Yeah.
You broke up. I couldn't hear you.
I said I remember that there was a game that you had stayed with the uniforms and you left them in the bag after a previous game.
Right.
And they smelled like shit when you took them out for the next game, and y'all played like that.
And we probably won that game.
Man, I remember that, boy.
Yeah.
So going into your senior year, what's the mind state on that team? Like, what's the mindset on that team? Because I know I remember what y'all did, but going into it for you, what's the mindset? Are you being recruited already?
My junior year, I was the summer. Yeah, I started getting recruited by colleges. I started getting phone calls and receiving letters that summer. I got letters from Division II schools and a bunch of local Division I schools.
Okay. Anything that sparked your interest at that point?
Any schools?
Yeah.
There was one school that offered me a scholarship, and they were a Division II, was Stonehill. And when I think about it now, Stonehill is an amazing academic school. You know what I mean? I was recruited by a lot of amazing academic schools, but I'm a kid from the hood, and I want to go to a Division I school, and I just want to play basketball. Like, I didn't have anyone, you know, in my corner saying, you know, you should go to this school, because even though they don't play at a high basketball level, you know, it'll make up for it, you know, academically, you know, and can change the trajectory of your life.
Got you.
So I was getting some attention, which made me happy, you know, made me feel that all of my hard work was well worth it.
Yeah.
You know, but dude, I was happy to play with my high school team, you know, and my high school brothers at Dykeman, at a place where I grew up. you know, and I was able to play in front of my friends and family, you know, and just showcase what we could do, you know, just have fun out there.
No, I remember that. Y'all were all in high school. Because after your senior years when y'all came and played for me.
Yeah.
So that senior year, what's it, you know, what's that feeling of, what's that feeling like at that Rice practices and the locker room, like what's the feeling like? Because y'all, that's it. This is the last shot y'all getting.
That was our last stand. Dude, to be honest, our practices at Rice were wars. Our practices were wars, bro. Like, I would leave practice wanting to fight Jason, wanting to fight Keedron, wanting to fight Steven, because we'd be going at it, yo. And there was times where, yo, chairs were thrown, you know, all types of curse words, you know, Mo Hicks is getting on us and calling us soft. Like, dude, he was instigating it. He was instigating it. He used to say, you guys are ready to fight with each other. I hope you guys are ready to fight with the other team. He's like, I hope you guys are ready to fight with Christ the King and St. Ray's. You know, dude, our practices were wars in that gym. Wars.
I can, you know
what I mean?
So you got, I went to that game at Fordham, by the way.
Against O'Hallows?
Yeah, and I was talking to Rick last, and I remember that game clear, bro. I remember that entire game, bro. Right. And y'all showed up, man. Y'all did what y'all needed to do.
Listen, Shagari showed up. Shagari shot like 12.
Excellent game. I don't think he missed.
He did not miss. Dude,
yeah, he did not miss a shot.
That was one of the greatest New York City basketball performances in New York City basketball history.
That's a fact. He didn't miss. I was like, yo, he going to A? This or what?
What's that?
I said, yo, he looked like he getting ready to go to the A after this.
Yeah.
So at your senior year.
But everybody got to see us, you know, under the bright lights. But there are so many stories, man. So many wars we used to have with each other in that gym. You know.
I bet.
Like, I used to play one-on-one with Keedron after practice. We used to have shooting contests after practice all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We used to battle. Dude, gym class, we used to battle. Because dudes used to want to come for us. Because, again, we're at a basketball, you know, rich school. So even the kids that didn't play varsity A or play varsity B could still play. And they would try to bring it to us and try to embarrass us. And we used to have to hold our own.
Absolutely.
Dude, that basketball culture at the school was crazy. But I vividly remember having three-point contests with Keedron. He'd be like, yo, the first one to make 10 three-pointers. You know, and they don't call him wet those for nothing, man. That boy.
His shit all the way different.
It's different, bro. Different. Listen, his shit is on the same level as JJ Redick.
Yeah, I liked him. I liked him more than that. His shit crazy. He can create off the dribble, man. He's not just catching.
Drew, we had an unfair advantage, right? We used to play a lot of our home games at the Gauchos gym, and we used to practice those, right? We used to practice there. We used to also practice at Fordham University.
Okay.
All the time, bro.
Okay.
I remember Keedron telling me in practice, he's like, yo, you see this logo right here? I'm going to pull from here in the game. I said, no, you're not. Bro, and he would just pull. He would just pull from there in the game. His confidence was on a whole nother level, man.
Yeah, he's different.
On a level. And I also remember in high school, you know, us saying that we weren't going to buy, you know, graduation rings. We were like, we're going to win a city championship, and that's going to be our graduation ring.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So that was our mindset, man. That was our mindset. Mo Hicks used to tell us, he's like, listen, because it says Rice on your chest, teams aren't going to lay down. They're going to bring even more.
Yeah, you're going to get the best out of everybody you play.
Everybody. Every game was like a playoff game. Every game was a battle. Every game was a war, man. Every game. And we were prepared for those battles because in practice, they were wars.
Gotcha.
ripping jerseys. Dude's got a busted lip. Like, I remember before the state championship, Shagari hits me with an elbow in practice.
Yeah.
Dude, have you ever been hit by a dude that's 7'4"?
Hell no, nigga.
A shot and hit. Dude, we used to have wars, man. I used to try to dunk on him, and he'd be like, yo, you're never going to dunk on me.
You never got to?
On that team, and then on our senior year, we had an amazing supporting cast. We had Shagari, who was a year behind us, and we had these two young gunners, man, that were war, battle, tested, and ready. Russell Robinson and Arturo Du Bois, you know, which they helped us out tremendously, especially, I know I'm jumping ahead, but they helped us out tremendously when we eventually won the city championship and moved on to the States.
Yeah.
But our team was fully loaded. Our senior year, we eventually had six or seven Division I basketball players on that team.
Yeah, y'all was stacked, bro.
Dude. Yeah.
Y'all was stacked.
Catholic school basketball is not the same.
New York basketball is not the same.
New York basketball is not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same anymore. Yo, we got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
You want to log out and log back in?
Let's do it. Let's go for it. All right.